welcome back to my studio. Today I am working on one of my embryos. We call these embryos because they're baby paintings. I started my career as a medical illustrator, doing drawings for medical books. And when I started, Jack started teaching me to paint and I began doing some of these little drawings. He said, let's call them embryos just in honor of your medical training. They're baby paintings. So anyway, this one I'm doing as I'm going to offer a series of paintings for Mother's Day gifts. And so this is going to be one of those. And it's a butterfly and Rose of Sharon flowers. And so I've sketched it up on my panel with a thin wash of my mud, which is 2 parts ultramarine blue plus 1 part alizarin crimson. And I thin that out with liquid, and so I can do my drawing up there. It's now dry, so it won't smudge. If I paint over something, I can erase it with just taking a clean brush with thinner. So that's my guidelines. I showed you a picture of the panel up on my easel with my reference material taped to the easel. So I'm going to start with the background. I always paint from the back forward. And start with the background, and I just start working around my drawing. And the light's coming in from the upper left, so it's going to be lighter up behind these flowers and then darker here, because then the light will be coming through the wings of the monarch butterfly, and so the lighter wings against this darker red will really pop. So this is called a bright brush. It has a square tip, and you can see I can use the broad side to make big strokes, or I can use the corner to work around the detail. And this is called a cradled panel. It's made by Ampersand. I buy these at Jerry's Artorama. You can get them on Dick Blick. You can get them on Cheap Joe's. And it's really just a great little panel. It has, they call it a cradled panel. It has, let's see, I can untape this and just show you a second here. You don't want to take too much, but you can see it's got a thicker side. I paint the sides black, and then I just tape off that edge so that keeps that edge clean while I'm painting. Then when I'm finished, I can just pull that tape off, and I have a nice clean black edge. It doesn't have to be framed. I put a wire on the back, and my collectors can just hang that directly on their wall. No framing needed. So these are just really they've got a nice surface. I do go ahead, and even though the surface is primed, I add an extra coat of white acrylic just to give another little extra coat of priming. And you can see how I can use the edge of this big brush to work into that, around the small details there. Let's see, I am going to get a smaller brush to work in there. But now here, this is a mixture of cadmium red deep plus magenta. Now this is just my pure cadmium red deep. You can see it's a little brighter. And I want my background to slowly get brighter as we move up around the top edge of this and toward the left. Again, I'll use my smaller brush in there, but I try to work with as big a brush as I can until it just gets to the point that I need a smaller brush. I can't do what I need with that big brush. Love these flower buds on the Rose of Sharon. Okay, let's get a little smaller brush. So here we go. This is a smaller one. And I can just paint around, and I don't want to paint over my drawing, but if I do, it's very easy. I just clean out my brush, and I can come back and erase. Just with a clean brush dipped in thinner, I can just remove that paint that's gone where I don't want it to. I love these square tipped brushes. And now this is cadmium red light. So this gives me a brighter red up here. Just let that come up like that. But you can see how I can just kind of erase that color off of there. I'm going to let that flower come up just a little bit. And I'll feather that off in there when I paint my white. I'm going to make the flowers white. I know my reference material, they're pink, but I want them to be white in my painting. But then I start working that cadmium red light into the cadmium red deep. Because I want doesn't have to be a perfectly smooth transition, but I want just the color to get darker as we move across here. So I can just kind of feather that transition. That doesn't matter if there's a little texture in it. And this comes around. Now I'll pull those stems over the red, but that doesn't matter if I kind of go over that a little bit. But this other, around the flowers and all, I like my design, so I don't want to mess that up. A little red in here. This will be my deeper red around these buds. So there's our background is in there. Now I may have to come back in and do a little work here and there on it, but that's our background. Now I'm going to start working on going to get my flowers in there. And so these are mixes of dioxazine purple plus white, ultramarine blue plus white, a little phthalo blue plus white. And I start. Those make really pretty shadow colors for my flowers, for my white flowers. Now I was talking about feathering that little petal. So what I want to do is bring some of my cadmium red light and we're going to feather that petal in here. And it just catches a little hint of light there. There we go. And this gets a little bit darker here. And at the base of these, I'm going to bring a little magenta in for the veining. Do this one back here. Again, this is the shadow side. The light's coming in from the upper left. This is going to be fairly dark here. And I just let that edge, I want it to feather. I don't, I want to paint wet into wet so that edge back there is soft. But because I want this flower to go back. So I just... You can also soften those edges by painting from the background into the flower. So I'm going to take my cadmium red deep plus magenta, and I can just see how I can just drag into that, and that softens that edge. It's a little too much. It's just a back and forth. And then we want this. Okay, that's a leaf there, yeah. This petal comes up, comes down here. And then we have, I'm going with a lighter Dioxazine purple plus white as we come around here. And this is actually phthalo blue plus white. And this will be behind this wing of the butterfly, so it kind of accentuates that color. Now up here, the sun is really hitting that. And my brush pulled a little bit of the red in there, so I have to clean my brush. So I'm going to pull that from that leaf out. A little bit of this. And that flower comes here. A little bit of that. Now I have my green mixtures out, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that leaf in. This is phthalo blue plus a little bit of cadmium yellow medium plus lemon yellow. And I want to paint my green over the white, because if I tried to paint the white around that green, it would get in, my brush would pick up the green on my, and get the white all messy, kind of like it did with some of the red. Well, this is darker. But you can see how I can use the corner of that brush to make those strokes. Use a smaller brush here. So that's how I get started. I get the background in, and then I just work back and forth. Well, I appreciate you watching my YouTube's videos. I will show more of the step-by-step process of this on my blog. You can go to the link in the description below, and it will start. You can see this entire process of this painting from start to finish. So you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you again for watching my YouTube videos. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can also subscribe to my blog. And you just have a wonderful, wonderful day, and happy painting.